I think everything has a root, right? People are not just diving into something because there's no deeper emotional connection to it on any kind of level. I always mention the pain points. People are looking for personhood, power, prosperity, provision, peace, insert purpose or pleasure in there as well.
Young people in particular are questioning, their allegiance, their affiliation to Christianity, and for various reasons are walking away from the church or from their affiliation to Christianity. And there are many reasons for this. The reasons vary from, encountering hypocrisy in the church or abuses in the church, or the inability of the church to deal with important questions that are quite important in their everyday life. Questions, about social justice, for instance. They find that these issues are not adequately addressed or relevant.
I've done pastoring work. I'm a graduate of Andrews University, Michigan, US of A. Pastored Zimbabwe, Botswana, a bit of Namibia, South Africa, did London and US and back. And what pushed me to where I am now is the negligence of the church on dealing with social issues, and particularly also the misunderstanding on cultural education.
Yes.
So I decided to do a bit of research, and that led me to the starting of my writing and starting to questioning things and looking for new paradigms.
But there's also a sense in which a lot of young people are looking into the past, and there are many drivers of that conversation, particularly the resurgent conversations about racism and the history of racism and the role of racism in its various forms historically to actually commit other forms of injustices, and one of them being the severing of young people in terms of their identity. Where people find themselves in a culture, in a place where they call home, but they feel lost, and they feel a sense of double consciousness as well, which tears at their soul.
And we are seeking connection, clearly, which is why we're joining new spaces that are selling back the practices that are inherent to us, because we want these connections. We're joining this spiritual consumerism of buying crystals, joining meditation spaces, breathing in and out, understanding our understanding our ancestral practices, because we want this connection, and we've cut our own connections off and bought into this new connection. If we want connection, we have to go back to where Sankofa, right? We have to go back to where we've learned about it, clear out all of the trauma and fear that we bring to it, and understand it in our lives today.
And so there's a form of a protest as well. One could look back and go, well, if racism, the effects of it is that I'm displaced from, my traditional or historical identity. One way of protesting that is to reclaim that, and unfortunately, some of it becomes an uncritical reclaiming in a form of protest. Some of these ideas.
We have to be careful with these conversations, and remember that everybody that doesn't sit at the table as a cis, straight, or as a black or as a white this, where I was at something yesterday and there was this white guy who had long hair and everybody was like, he looks like Jesus. And I'm like, this is what the issue is, right? Is that's not Jesus to me, that's Jesus to you. And then it informs your politics, and informs how you care about black people. And that's why people are running to African traditions, because people want to feel safe. People want to feel like they're in a place, in a space where people understand who they are. And if that means if I can get in touch with my ancestors, let me try that, because I can guarantee that they love me more than probably the folks who killed Jesus love me.
I think that for me, the reason I kind of stepped away from Christianity, the way that I received it as a child, and the environments I was in, it was kind of very exclusive and exclusionary, in the sense that this is good, this is bad, you do good, you end up here, you do bad, you end up here. And for me, my spiritual scope is much wider than that, and I understand that everybody can have their, spirits, like you were talking about, spirits come to you in different ways. It's not always Christianity, it's going to be something different for everyone, because it's such a personal connection that you're building with this.
So it's important to know that the reason why people, consult with ancestors or ancestral spirits is because a lot of them have experiences where they that they believe are real, the really experiences which feed into how they see the world, and that they interpret as being part of their reality.
What's the opposition of having someone that you know is there to guide you? Like, for example,
When you say someone, you mean like
a spirit. Like my father died, it'll be 3 years in January. Every day my father talks to me, I see him, I smell him. My grandmother, I smell nail polish. What is the opposition of having them there? And I know they're not there to hurt me.
Primarily, and I think it's what we must always go back to, is that African peoples had experiences and have today experiences which are often uncritically dismissed by outsiders, or redefined from an outsider's perspective without understanding what they actually are. And these experiences, they actually speak and feed into the lenses through which we interpret the world and our deeply held commitments. And in turn, we use those worldviews then to interpret our experiences at the same time. And so it becomes like a loop that's feeding each other. When somebody from the outside comes in without understanding and simply says, what you're experiencing is just in your head, or it's just superstitious belief because you are not civilized or you don't have education, then there can tend to be also from some of us a way in which we dismiss them because we think that they're speaking ignorantly, from ignorance and from with a lack of understanding. And so it's important that I can agree with the fact that you've had an experience without necessarily agreeing with how you interpret your experience. Mm-hmm. Often people think that by agreeing, at least granting, that somebody has had a particular experience, then you have to also accept, the interpretive lens that they apply in understanding what the experience means. But I think you can do one without the other, and it's important that you do so.